Hi, today we're here to show you guys how to size a paddle and how to bond the handle on. Or in some cases we have customers that have purchased a paddle and now over time the trend is going a little bit shorter with paddles, so we have a lot of people calling to find out if they could cut their paddle down shorter from what they already have. So you're going to need a few simple items first. We buy 5-minute epoxy in volume like this. This is a super glue brand, but your local hardware store or Home Depot typically carry a 5-minute epoxy similar to this one, which is compatible for marine grade usage. This one's already open, so I'm going to use this one today. I would keep latex gloves like this just for easy cleanup. If you're a dealer, it's a good idea to buy these in a box, keep them on hand. We pre-cut some tissue like this just for easy wiping and not a lot of excess waste and cleanup with a little bit extra glue that will ooze out. A little bit of masking tape, which you'll see. I tear off a piece about 5 inches long, and you're going to see, I'm going to tape it to the end of the paddle right now temporarily, and you'll see what we use that for. But we have a customer that wants an 80-inch long paddle. The handle extends 3 inches beyond the end of the shaft. So what we need to do is cut the paddle 3 inches shorter than the final overall length. So in this case, we want an 80-inch paddle. We are going to mark the paddle shaft at 77 inches. So we put the tape measure on the tip. We measure it straight from tip to where we're going to make the cut. Now, the piece of masking tape I put there so that I don't have to let go of the tape measure. I center it so that the middle of the tape is right on the 77-inch mark. We are going to use a chop saw in-house to cut this. We put tape here for a couple reasons. One is you can get an accurate dimension and mark it with pencil afterwards if you're going to use a hacksaw to cut this with. A fine hacksaw blade will work if you don't have a chop saw. But in-house we made this quick little setup. This is a chop saw with a cutting table, and we've actually already got it indexed, so we just set the block at 77, which is pinned on the table. We butt this up against, and you're going to see that is going to line up on my mark here. So we don't actually have to mark with a pencil, but you could see if you were to do this by hand and cut it with a hacksaw, it's going to do the same thing. So this is just a, actually this is a blade from Home Depot that's made by Diablo. You can see it's a carbide tip, so it lasts for thousands of shafts before we have to change it out. And it's the more teeth you have on your blade, the better. And this happens to be a 12-inch blade, which works pretty good. But these saws can be purchased at Home Depot. Not every shop is going to have this, so if you do a lot of volumes of paddles, but you'll see it's a very fast cut. Always wear your safety glasses. We save all these for future ping pong paddles just in case, and I actually have a couple other people that have use for those small cutoffs, so it's a good idea not to waste them if you don't have to. Now, you don't want to bond the handle into here without any prep work, because the shafts are always made on a mandrel, and we release it from the mandrel. There's a slight bit of release on the inside. This can be roughed up by hand with 80 grit sandpaper like this. If you're in a shop, just make sure you rough that up really good. We do a lot of these, so we bought these fancy little thumb sanders on a Makita, and we just sand it like this. All right. You always want to get the dust and the debris. We have this fancy downdraft table here at Quickblade for cleanup that sucks all the dust away when you're done, which is kind of nice. We don't expect every shop to have that. But if you do a big volume, it keeps your shop clean. This is 120 grit sandpaper. This is important. While the masking tape is still here, I leave it on until we're all done. I like to just round the edge off and make that just a little bit soft. You can see I took a piece of sandpaper this big, folded it into thirds, and this is 120 grit, roll it around like this, and that puts a nice soft chamfer on the end of my shaft. And what that does is it makes sure that once the handle's installed, you don't have a hard edge right there, okay? We don't like to put tape or anything around it when we're done. So just a few strokes around there, and see I'm twisting the shaft as I do that. And I'm rolling my hand so it puts a nice little radius on the end of it. Most of the handles are usually sanded up a little bit and roughed for you, so you don't have to do this step, but it's always a good idea to make sure your mating parts are roughed up a little bit, okay? So now we are going to put the rubber glove on, and we are going to wet out some epoxy, about this much. That's about all you need. And I use my finger actually to stir it. This is just you can use wax paper or any piece of cardboard to do this. But I mix it up like that really good. So about that much will do it. Reach inside the hole, and I just swirl it around on the inside and get that nice and wet, okay? Then we want to wet the handle. So I take the remaining amount here, and I get the stem of the handle nice and wet. Okay. Now I throw my glove away and take the end of the paddle, give it a nice twist, like so. Now, you see my hand's clean because I took my glove off. Just before you're all the way on, this is the point where we like to do the cleanup. Just turn it around like that, see? And then this little bit of napkin gets thrown away. And then you can put it the rest of the way on. Now what we got to do is line up the handle. The way to do that is to set it on a flat edge this way. If you sight down it, you can line it up perfectly and do your fine-tuning adjustment there. Alright, so on a flat table or by hand. And then one last little wipe that may have any last little bit of glue in there, which there isn't much in this case. Now the final step is that masking tape that I left on. We'll pull that off, and voila. The important thing is at this point, this is a very important step. Leave the paddle horizontal or slightly with the handle tipped down. If you stand it up before the extra glue is dry, it can drip down into the tube. So we like to leave them sit flat on the table like this until they're dry. Or if anything, you can just leave it flat on the table like this, and that'll keep the glue from running down into your tube. Because every once in a while, if you have too much glue, that little piece can break off inside. It sounds like you got a penny or a nickel inside your paddle. We've had that happen on occasion. Somebody sends it back to us from a dealer that didn't do it properly, and it sounds like there's something rattling around in there, and more often than not, it's because of a little drip of that, and even the smallest little drip that breaks off in there sounds like a substantial coin or a rock, you know, rattling around in your paddle. So that's how you do it. If you want to shorten a paddle, it's the same process. You just measure it out. Hopefully you're cutting below the stem of the paddle, of the handle, and if you're not, there's a couple tricks to getting that out, or we can send you an extension piece that you can bond in to get the remaining stem out. You know, as long as you're cutting your paddle like 2 to 3 inches more, 3 inches more, you'll be beyond that stem. If it's only an inch or half an inch, then chances are you're gonna have to cut it lower and add a small piece of shaft with the connector in there. We call that a handle extension kit. So hopefully that helps you get your customers on the water, or if you're already a Quickblade customer and want to shorten your paddle, that should do the trick.